This is my roommate Jean, and since I've known him, he's been using this PowerPoint machine to play Valorant at 30 FPS. But today is his lucky day because he's finally upgrading from this piece of junk to this piece of junk. Don't let this PC fool you though, because despite looking like it's old enough to give consent, Big Red here is actually packing some insane hardware. And by the end of this video, this PC is going to be worthy to be gamed on. Jean and I picked up Big Red for $880 off Facebook Marketplace. It came with a 29-inch monitor and a Corsair keyboard. But you'll see in a bit that we actually got a pretty killer deal. When we picked this PC up, it was in rough shape. At first glance, we can see that it's housed inside a bulky, bright red scratched up case that is way too big, especially for what is clearly a micro ATX motherboard. I did some research and found out that this is actually an NZXT case, the Phantom 410 that was released in 2012. That was probably the last time this PC was clean too, because the inside is caked with dust and cobwebs. The PC is intaking air from the back and exhausting it out the front, and although there's nothing too terribly wrong with this, it fights against hot air's natural tendency to rise. It's only rocking 16GB of DDR4 RAM, which I would have been able to look past until I discovered a terrible truth. This part is important, okay? We're gonna take a look at the RAM. Inside this monstrosity is laptop RAM. That's right, this is SODIMM RAM, memory meant to be put inside a laptop that has been placed on an adapter to work for a desktop computer. Not only is this a huge performance hit, but also, why even do this? Do you even save money? Needless to say, this PC has a lot of history and stories that we don't even know about. But let's start taking this thing apart for a closer look. I'm really excited for you guys to see what it's packing because unlike me, it's a lot. While taking off the cooler, I discovered that the previous owner had a push-pull configuration on his tower air cooler, but he had used two mismatched fans for it. The motherboard was also held down with a variety of different screws, almost as if he had scavenged and used whatever screws he could find to hold it into place. That's right, this PC is running off a Ryzen 7 5700X 3D, which is one of the best processors for gaming on the AM4 platform, housed inside a B550M Mortar motherboard. This guy's gonna get a new home today. It's paired with a really nice XFX model of AMD's Radeon RX 7800 XT, a high-end card that rivals and stomps Nvidia's RTX 4070, and powering all of this is an 850-watt power supply from Corsair. But that's enough about what this PC once was. Let's get into everything that it can be. Even though this is my video and I'm the one pimping out the PC, at the end of the day, it's still Jean's own rig. So I let him pick out all of the components that he wanted to pimp this PC out. Obviously, we're gonna give it the home it deserves, a new case that actually matches its aesthetics with the Lian Li Lancool 216. Even though it is a bit big for our motherboard, it's got some neat features like dual 160mm RGB fans intaking from a mesh front panel, a front I/O that you can actually take off and move to a different spot, and this thing is a chonker. I'm pretty sure the empty case by itself is heavier than a lot of the full PC builds that I've done before. We'll also be replacing the air cooler with a 240mm AIO liquid cooler from ID Cooling. Not only will this improve our temperatures, but it's definitely going to look nicer than the dust-caked tower cooler that was originally in here. The component that we definitely need to get out of here is this Frankenstein kit of laptop RAM, and in its place will be a 32GB kit of Corsair Vengeance clocked at 3200 MHz. We're doubling the amount of RAM, increasing its speed from what was probably 2133 MHz all the way up to 3200 MHz, and it doesn't look like complete shit. That's a worthy purchase in my book. Now this PC did come with an SSD, but it's 500 gigs and SATA, which means these NVMe slots are just sitting unused in this motherboard. That won't do, so we'll be adding a 2TB WD Block NVMe SSD as both the boot drive and main storage for games. Finally, we'll be throwing in a kit of black sleeve cables to really tie it all together at the end. That's enough about the parts though. Let's cue the montage. Alright, let's take a moment to talk about the build. The whole process took about 5 hours, which was definitely a lot longer than I initially had expected, considering I've built enough computers at this point to be able to put one together in less than an hour. Everything went pretty smooth for the most part. It did take me a while to figure out how to remove the front I/O. I moved it to the side of the case and then replaced the top with a fan controller module. I also liked that we could essentially take apart every single part of the case. It definitely made building in it a lot easier. There's plenty of room in the back for cable management, and this build had a ton of cables. Not only did the fan controller module add a bunch, but we had 6 total fans and then extensions to account for. I did the best I could with cable management, and I don't think I did too terrible of a job, although it was basically impossible to make the fan cables going into the hub look nice. The XFX RX 7800 XT is an incredibly heavy card, so Jean decided to go for a GPU bracket. This up here GPU bracket was a total pain to install. It took forever to configure so that it would properly hold up the weight of the GPU, and it ended up being completely useless because Jean found this Funko Pop of Jungkook from BTS as Buzz Lightyear, and it ended up being the perfect height to hold up the GPU. That was definitely not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. But Jungkook is doing a much better job than the GPU bracket. I'm really satisfied with the way that this PC turned out. I think Jean did a really good job picking out all the components, and most importantly, he's happy with how it looks, which is all that matters. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the very first episode of PC Glowup. Unfortunately, I am not a big enough creator to have a consistent supply of PCs that I can pimp out and glow up, but if you guys liked this and you guys want to see more, if you guys want to see more like this, and you liked this, please let me know and subscribe. If this video does well enough, I might consider pimping out my own rig, so you guys will get a video out of that and I will get a pimped out PC out of that. So let me know. If you want to see more content from me, boom, right there on the left. Those are my other videos that I have made so far. All right, bye-bye.